Happy New Year, everyone. Wherever you are, whenever you might be experiencing this annual tradition. That's wonderful that you said that back to me so people can hear that also. Happy, wonderful New Year. We are free in 2023. Isn't that a nice affirmation?
Yes.
And so as we enter into this time, Aaron has already made sure that you have the supplies that you need there in the sanctuary along with an envelope. And so I invite those of you who may be watching this at another time or watching this now online to make sure that you also have a couple pieces of paper and a candle burning or bowl of water to safely release that which you choose to let go as we move into 2023. So I am free in 2023. Repeat that with me together. I am free in 2023. Let's do that again together. I am free in 2023. That feels good. We are now on the other side of the pandemic, pretty much. Not to say that people are not still affected by it, but we're finding our new normal. We are emerging, each one of us. We are emerging individually, and we are emerging as a spiritual community into what we are now becoming. The past year was filled with joys and love and loss. For that is the way of life, always. We were able to relax from the restrictions from the previous 2 years. We were able to connect and are still reconnecting with life in a new way, not feel as isolated perhaps as we had become out of necessity. We reprioritize what was important in our lives. Still very much a year of adjustment and discovering just how flexible we are or aren't. We've had our challenges and we will continue to have our challenges. That is the way of life. There are so many wonderful traditions for moving into the new year. Many of us have adapted our very own over the years. Some of us go to bed at 9 o'clock. Some of us stay up to watch that new year come in. It's all good. One of the most common traditions in the United States is the making of New Year's resolutions. You know, those wonderful goals that we make and often break before January is over. Well, today is so much more than that. It is so much deeper. It is richer. It is more meaningful if we let it be. It's up to us. Each day we make the decision and how we are going to express ourselves this day, in this year. Yesterday is gone. It's over. It can't be repeated, good or bad. We don't get a do-over. And we do get to decide how to be expressions of light and love this day. We don't need a do-over. Every moment to moment is the opportunity for a reset, to ground ourselves in the essential and intimate knowing of our true nature, of our Christ selves. And we decide, we choose how to express ourselves in this world, wherever we are, in every moment. We can shift a situation in every moment by making a different choice, by choosing differently. We decide how to hold every interaction, every experience, every memory. And should we choose to, we can remold our reaction to it. We can hold it more gently, with more forgiveness and understanding. Perhaps even thank that memory for the learning experience, for the growth opportunity it offered to us. That takes time, I know. One step at a time. For we can't do this until we're ready. We truly can't. We cannot force ourselves into a state of forgiveness until we are truly ready to do so. And I had a wonderful reminder of this lesson during my recent visit with you all. During one of my many opportunities to connect, someone shared with me that our former landlord, the gentleman who leased the townhome to Denny and I in Big Coppet, had passed away. And I was taken aback by my internal reaction to that news. So to understand this experience, I'll share a short story. I'll try to keep it short. When Denny and I moved to Key West, I wanted to live in Old Town. I romanticized riding my bicycle to work, walking everywhere. And part of that experience was quite lovely. The apartment we leased was right across from a building that at that time, when I leased it, was empty, that soon opened to be a restaurant and bar. Bar being the key word here. Open all hours of the day and night. Night being the key word here. With its outside patio right across the street from the windows of our apartment. And I would say apartment might also be a key word, because a one-bedroom apartment that actually has no doors because there's not room is really just a large studio apartment. So Denny and I lived there for a year, and it was noisy. It was hard to get a good night's sleep, and many of you shared your homes with us for respite during that noisy corner of the world that we were living. Now, I understand if I had chosen a different apartment, our experience could have been very, very different, but this is the one I chose. And then your board of trustees offered me a contract for a second year, and I was thrilled. And we located a townhome on Big Coppet. It was on stilts, on a canal, nothing fancy, but it was just what we were looking for. It was quiet and peaceful, and it was a center unit of 3 units with the owner on one side and a smaller unit on the other side of us. We furnished it. We've got new furniture and a refrigerator and a stacking washer and dryer. Keith Lapp helped Denny move our stuff, and we had just begun to settle in. Our official move-in date was September 1. Does anybody recall when we were told to evacuate for Hurricane Irma? It was either the 5th or the 6th of September. And Hurricane Irma hit September 10th, making landfall just north of us in Cudjoe Key. Denny and I got to live in that townhome for less than a week. Well, Denny's nephew, his only sister's only son, was making his transition from brain cancer in Ohio. So Denny stayed with her to support her through this difficult time while I returned to the Keys. And for the next several weeks, my discussions with our landlord continued to be muddied and confusing and always changing. Yes, I could move back in, but mold had started forming in the upstairs bedroom where a window had been broken. Oh, by the way, the air conditioning wasn't working anymore, so no air conditioning. Again, you all jumped into my rescue, and I stayed in 5 different places in the space of the next 4 to 5 weeks. Eventually, our landlord revealed that he had received estimates on the work on our unit with the space empty. But all that was damaged was a window and the air conditioning and maybe a little bit of the carpet. And it took a while for me to realize that his unit was severely damaged and that he needed to move himself and his family into our unit. He just wasn't telling me that. He wasn't being forthright in that. And I remembered this time so well. You all had suffered so much more than Denny and I. Our things were all still intact. The car that we had sacrificed, left behind when we evacuated, was still functioning. I'm still driving it today. We were all experiencing shell shock or a sense of guilt for complaining about anything, because there was always someone, many someones, who had lost so much more. And I remember being in conversations with you there at the church. I remember one potluck, and I was sitting with Janet and Kevin, and they checked in with me. How are things going? And I'm like, hey, everything's good. And it was just a few days later that I discovered everything wasn't good. that we were not going to be able to move back into our townhome. And I couldn't find anything anywhere to live in that was within our budget and not damaged by the storm. And I realized I was competing with fellow congregants for rentals, and that didn't feel good. Actually, it felt hopeless. And so we gave away all the furniture and the appliances that we had purchased. Heartbroken, I prepared myself to leave this church family that I loved so much. And Denny didn't even get to come back to say goodbye. Now, I'm human. I'm hurt. I'm wounded. My heart is broken. Who can I blame? Mother Nature, the hurricane? I tried that, and there's not a lot of satisfaction in that. It was futile to blame a hurricane. My landlord? Perfect. He became the one to blame. I hardened my heart to him. I hardened my heart to his dilemma, to his struggle to find solutions and construction workers and to wade through insurance and to figure it all out. All the while he was losing rental income on the other 2 units. Our unit was, like I said, in the middle with very little damage. His was severely damaged. And I thought I had done my forgiveness work over the years. This was 5 years ago, until I was told he had passed away. Then I realized that I had not fully forgiven his actions, his lack of clarity, what I saw as dishonesty. How's that for judgment? There was a part of my heart closed off because of my lack of understanding, forgiveness, and compassion, for not letting go and for moving on without resentment. And so today, he's at the top of my list to release and let go all that encompassed. He was doing the best he could with what he knew at the time and with what was going on around him. So this morning, we're going to ask ourselves, what is on our heart? What part of our heart have we closed off? What tiny part of our heart is not available to us because it has been hardened by a resentment that we've not been ready to let go? Today is a new day. It's the first day of a new year. It's perfect. It's the perfect opportunity to release something that we find ourselves ready to release. Because we always want to ask ourselves, how do we want to express ourselves this day? Yesterday's over, but now, today, can we step forward in love, from a space of love, and expressing only love? And this is where our work comes in, day by day, moment by moment, choosing to express in this world, in our world, authentic love, wisdom, and compassion. Letting go of yesterday or last week or last year or decades ago or minutes ago. I've shared before, you cannot put sweet frosting on a pile of poo-poo and expect it to be a cake. We can't decide to come from love today and yet still harbor wounds, hurts, grievances, offenses from our past, recent or long ago, and expect that decision to last. The frosting, our affirmations and intentions, will fall off, and you know what will be left. The unhealed yuck we chose not to address, not to work through, not to release. And I understand that there needs to be a readiness. But this opportunity that we have, that we set aside every year, is that. It's a chance for us to look at what we are willing to let go of that maybe last year we weren't, or last week we weren't. Knowing that pasting affirmations on top of old hurts and wounds won't make a lasting difference in our life. We must do the work. You must do the work. You must release old thought patterns based upon your ego being offended, your feelings being wounded, and so must I. That message is so tactfully and graciously expressed in the Gospel of Mark. And I'll share that with you this morning. It comes from the second chapter, the 22nd verse. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins, or else the new wine bursts the wineskins. The wine is spilled, and the wineskins are ruined. But new wine must be put into new wineskins. Think about the properties of new wineskins. They're fresh, they're pliable, it absorbs expansion, yields, and supports while the wine matures. Now think about the properties of new wine. It's in a state of fermentation. It bubbles, it expands, there's movement, there's aliveness, there's activity. Well, old wineskins are rigid, and when the fresh wine is poured in, the wine cannot be held, the skin breaks. Well, metaphysically, we understand that we're talking about putting new ideas into old mindsets, old ways of thinking, limited consciousness, perhaps hardened by wounds, by offenses, real or imagined, griefs, judgment, criticisms, disagreement, hurts of all kinds have settled into our cells, into our bones. And when we put these new ideas, when we attempt to grasp these ideas of loving everyone, we can't seem to hold on to it. We will not get new results in our lives until we change our way of thinking. Old error thoughts will reveal themselves in our behavior. New ideas, spiritual truths, commitments to being a greater expression of light and love will only work when we first look at our consciousness, where we're coming from in our mind. What thoughts are we holding? Are we clinging to victimhood? Life is out to get me thinking. Life isn't fair. Yes, there are some grievances against us that take time to release, and we do so bit by bit, releasing the old wound, forgiving the offender, not justifying or letting them off the hook necessarily. Doesn't mean we want to stay connected to them, but forgiving the offender and letting it go. Perhaps understanding that no matter what was happening, they were doing the best that they could at the time. We choose. We can learn to lean more towards everything always works out for me. Isn't that better than life is not fair? Everything always works out for me. I have more than enough. I am more than enough. And the universe conspires to support me. When we have an open, yielding mindset, we are inspired by creative, positive, loving ideas. These ideas take hold in our new, fresh, pliable, yielding consciousness. There is nothing rigid about us. So how do we create a new year with wonderful, positive, prosperous, peace-filled, exciting changes? That new life you want so badly is going to require that you let go of the old one completely. We must first examine what needs to go. What do we need to release so that we can be more like new wineskins, ready to support the bubbling expansion of our own imagination and creativity, of outrageous love? What deeply rooted false beliefs or error thoughts are we ready now to release? What unforgiveness is overdue to be freed from the burden we have been carrying? For the unforgiveness, those grudges have been hurting no one but ourselves. Each year, those of us who experience the burning bowl ritual actually get excited by this process. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to this. This is my 21st year. Now, looking in from the outside, someone might say, after 21 years, haven't you let it all go? If only. The process of searching our hearts and minds for error ways of thinking is a process to be repeated often, consistently, each time we do, freeing us from the weight of our humanness, our ego. Each time lightening and expanding our heart's capacity to love without judgment or criteria. Let us move now into the time of our burning bowl meditation. I will guide you through this process. So let's settle into our seats. You have the papers on your lap. And we move into the space of your hearts as you listen to the words that I speak. For we meet on this first Sunday of each year to prayerfully support each other as we release negative and limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs, and establish a new awareness of truth within ourselves. We will have the opportunity in this process to write on the paper that which we are willing to release this day. And we will move together into the invocation by Charles Fillmore and then into meditation to prepare our lists. So for now, relax into this moment as you listen to the invocation. We recognize that we are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge this presence and this power, O Blessed Spirit. In this infinite wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from your pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to your perfect law. Amen. The purpose of this quiet time is not as a memorial to the past, nor is it a time to be wishfully thinking of the future. Let this be a time of definite work of denial and affirmation in consciousness, a cleansing of the old and an infilling of the new through the Spirit of truth. In this process of releasing, we begin with forgiveness of all injury, real or imagined. We take time now in the quiet to call to mind any persons or incidents in our lives we need to forgive. Someone or something that is not passing through your mind peacefully. We let go of grudges, hurts, guilt, and shame. We free ourselves from these judgments. We allow ourselves to consider, what do we need to unburden? What is weighing us down with negative thoughts or emotions? Consider this for a moment. Search your heart. We recognize too the intensity of the emotions these memories may generate for us, and we do not condemn ourselves for the way we feel. We choose, however, to change our injured feelings to feelings of harmony, love, and peace. We address those people or incidents we need to forgive by simply writing on the paper the names, the initials. This is on the paper that we are releasing. You can open your eyes now and begin your list. I release you. We also release any thoughts or habit patterns we wish to let go of. Things like judgments, tendency to blame, anger, ego, our need to be right, our need to control, anything that keeps us from connecting authentically with others and revealing our true nature. Write those behaviors down now that you wish to release. Are we complete with this process? If your lists are complete, we first invite our music team to release their lists. As they return, the ushers will indicate when it's your time to move forward, to release your list to the nothingness from which it came. If you are able, you will be asked to enter the peace garden from the lobby and return to the sanctuary. If you would like someone to release your list for you, you can indicate that to one of our ushers, to Robin or Sherry, and they will release it for you. And when you return to your seat, please remain silent and receive a blessing from Spirit, and meditate and bless those who will follow you.
There was a time in my life I thought I'd have to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you're discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. Let it all go. And this is what you have to say.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Sing it with us. Release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. This next time we're going to go through it, I want everybody to stand and sing it like you really mean it, and join us, and let's just release all this stuff, okay? Ready? Let's go. Start over again. I release and I let go. Come on, sing it out. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Thank you. You may be seated.
That feels great, doesn't it? Now that everyone has returned to their seats, we will invite Rev Daybree and Zoom back in for the second part of the process of releasing and affirming.
That really does feel good. I was watching on the camera. Kim took the camera out to the fire pit, and there was our firekeeper, Larry, making sure that every piece of paper got into the flames. And I watched as people stood and made sure that their release was complete. That little piece of paper got burned completely up. So cleansing, isn't it? It's freeing. It's beautifully freeing. So I invite you now to take out the second piece of paper that you have, the one that you will use to write your letter to God. And how you do this is completely up to you. You may choose to write a letter of gratitude to God, affirming in advance how you envision this new year will look to you, what will be manifest in this new year. Thanking God in advance for close, harmonious relationships with family or friends, whatever is on your heart that you envision for your new year, you are affirming in advance that it has already happened, and you're thanking God for that. Or your letter might be statements of intention, sentences that begin with, I resolve to. I resolve to begin every interaction in my mind as a reminder to love my neighbor as myself. Whatever you resolve to do in the new year. I usually do the first one, thanking God in advance for what will unfold for me, but it's really up to you. For this letter will be guided by your heart. So we move into our second meditation. I invite you to have that piece of paper there in your lap with the envelope. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so, or gaze softly at something before you. As we move into this space, living, loving Creator, this day we come before you, hearts open, minds receptive to the gifts of this new year. We still our thoughts so that we may hear your guidance speaking to us, through us now. Open us to the vision of possibility in all we do. Let us perceive the potential of this day and every day to create for us the goodness of awe. Still the noise of our cluttered minds as we rest into the depths of meditation and prayer, responsive to new understandings of truth. We let go and we allow these words to guide the meditation in our hearts. As I allow the words to be the words of your own heart. Yes, precious Spirit, I know this year is a year of transformation for me. I believe in the beauty. I believe in the possibilities, the transformations, and the promises of this new year. Within me is the assurance that seeds that have been sleeping within me will now awaken, that will break through into their divine fulfillment and become radiant expressions of your love. Right now, dear God, I greet this new year, aware that I am yours. I am filled with all the potentials for growth, for perfection and transformation. Your truth is now living within every cell, every fiber of my being. Your love activates my every thought and word. The joy of your life moving through me now quickens my actions. Ideas that were dormant will awaken to the promise of this new year. Resting for a time in the stillness, I'm connecting with that power of God moving in and through me now. I realize that before me is the fabric of a new year, ready for me to design in whatever way I choose. In the quiet of this time, I begin to communicate my dreams to writing. I look at them in the stillness of my own being. I let them state my affirmative prayers for the new year. I take time now to create my letter to God, thanking Spirit in advance for all the good I know is coming to me, affirming my attention, my intention, my resolve for the new year. I write my letter now. Begin to reread your letter now. Once it is complete, fold your letter to God and put it in the envelope. Address the letter to yourself with your address. It will be held safely here and mailed to you at just the right time. Know that as you have asked, so it will be given to you. All the strength, all the power, the love, and the wholeness that you affirm is right now gathering within you to enable you to know the strength of your convictions. And when you are ready, the ushers will pick up your envelopes. And if you are not complete and you would rather bring it back next week and work on it, that's fine also. David and our music team will perform I Send My Love, and know that you are the love your world needs. You are the love. Feel it and send it forth. And